true veterans of the OTT channel wars to discuss with one another how they're growing their brands on TV screens and how they're navigating this really incredibly dense thicket of providers and pathways to discovery on the new grid. So I want to bring in both Will and Damian. Will Lee is the Senior Vice President, Head of Digital Entertainment Group at Meredith. His portfolio includes oversight of brands that are very familiar to you if you're on any of the streaming boxes, People TV, Entertainment Weekly. Will spent many years at Time Inc. on the entertainment properties as well. Damian Pelliccione. Damian, I'm a fellow Italian. My gut says to say Pelliccione.
That's correct. You're 100%.
There you go. All right. Yeah. Esteban from Abruzzi. He's the CEO and CEO and co-founder of REVRY. REVRY is the LGBTQ digital content streaming service. You'll see it on Apple TV, but you'll also see it on Samsung and LG TV screens, Roku, Chromecast, all the rest. What I've asked these two guys to do is try a different format where they, rather than me interview them, have them interview each other, because they're very experienced in the space, but they come at it from two very different sets of topics, very different trajectories in terms of how they've come on and worked within these ecosystems. So they're going to interview one another, but I'm going to start out by just asking each of them to sort of outline what their OTT CTV footprint looks like, what properties are on and most popular there, and what their channels are, and then I'm going to let them take it away with each other. So go ahead, Damian, start us off.
Thank you so much again for having me here. I'm actually sitting in the hotel room right now in Pinehurst, and it's been such a fabulous conference. My name is Damian Pelliccione. I am the CEO and one of 4 fabulous co-founders of REVRY. We are now the market leader for LGBTQ media across the world. We built our company in just 6 years, 5 consumer facing. We actually launched at San Francisco Pride this year, or this month, June of 2016, which is happy Pride Month to everybody who's watching online. Our footprint now is over 280 million households and devices, and we span everything from our direct consumer apps, which are powered by Brightcove Beacon, a fabulous tech partner of ours, on Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, Amazon Fire, iOS, the web. But bigger than that for us is actually our third-party networks that we have linear, fast, free ad-supported streaming TV networks on, which are obviously the big beasts in the room is Samsung, Vizio, LG, Xumo, Comcast, Xfinity, X1, so many different platforms, over 35 platforms. And we are launching almost one every month right now on another third party. Recently, we just launched Samsung UK, Samsung Australia. We launched with Arlax, we launched with ZSyn, and we're about to announce some bigger launches coming up in July. So it's been a really exciting opportunity to be the market leader for LGBTQ, but also just a leader in the space of FAST and AVOD and OTT, which is really the new way in which we consume television.
Hey, thanks, Damian. That's a lot to follow. But good to see you, and yes, definitely happy Pride Month to all. So People TV, which was originally conceived via the entertainment group at then Time Inc. as the People and Entertainment Weekly Network, which clearly just rolls off the tongue, has been in the space about the same time as REVRY, and I would say I don't need to repeat Damian's footprint, very similar, over 200 million households. We're also carried in Singapore and in Canada. We obviously have AVOD syndication through many of the FAST platforms. And one of the things that I think is unique about People TV is that we consider the web to be part of the ecosystem. And fortunately, we've grown a great deal over time, and so we now count about 100 million users monthly, and we use the size of our network on web to really to really show impact, right? When we have great programming, and I think it's certainly one of the things that we've tried to continue to build upon is just sort of the overall size of the ecosystem. And lest I forget, of course, we have, the People brand specifically, has a magazine that's, reaches tens of millions of readers every month, every week. And so it's an ecosystem, right? And so the OTT and People TV and its programming is threaded through everything that we do. But on that topic, Damian, I'm just going to jump in on the on the first thing that we wanted to talk about, because I know this is a very hot topic when it comes to OTT and CTV. So, you started around the same time as we did, and you've built such a unique and differentiated offering. So, congratulations on that. It's just a great product. I love the way you present it. I guess the question is, how do you define and measure growth, right? Not just like the overall footprint, because that's one thing, but like, how do you measure growth within the REVRY ecosystem?
It's a great question. And look, we set very specific KPIs and benchmarks quarter over quarter with our marketing team, our sales team, and our product team, because we're venture backed. So, we're always going for the next round, which is always a fun part of my job. But the biggest, what we can equate and attribute revenue to at the end of the day, like if I drill down to the most important KPI that my business has, is watch time. Right? How much attention can I grab from a viewer to retain them for even longer amounts of time? And that could be in either the, ad video on demand, fast channel, free to consumer environment, or even in the subscription side. There is a psychology for subscription that Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and now Disney Plus, all the majors are really tapped into, which is, how can I throw a lot of great content at you to build up your queue to retain your subscription for one more month? I would love to know what Netflix's like LTV is, because it just keeps growing month over month, right? I've had a subscription for at least 5 or 6 years, and I've never had a chance to turn that off. And then when we look at, for us, AVOD and FAST, anything in front of the paywall, whether it be on demand or, in a lean back kind of linear environment, it's that watch time. Our average daily user engages with REVRY content 1 hour and 28 minutes a day. And that is a huge amount of time. I know I can serve you at least 12 ad units in that 1 hour and 28 minutes when we go by the 8 minutes of ads per hour kind of rule of thumb, right? So, and then that has monetary value. And for us, when we look at what that monetary value is, on a direct sold side, our campaigns right now that we're running with Lexus and McDonald's and Diesel Jeans, and we just finished a campaign with Stoli, for Pride season, we're looking at 30 to mainly closer to $50 CPMs on that inventory. And that's outside of obviously what we're selling on the branded content side, which is becoming more of our, strong suit. And then when you look at things like PMPs, your average is, $20 to $25, and remnant inventory, we're looking at about $15 like everybody else. But there is, the KPI for us at the end of the day, drilled down, is watch time. How are we engaging more users and keeping those users to engage for longer periods of watch time?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I think we would say the same thing, although, it is, I think one of the challenges for us is how, how we see, because we have so many different kinds of users. I mean, I think this is where maybe one of the differences between your business and ours is that, we do have so many different segments and cohorts that, we think of it as, the way I would put it is, heretofore, we have focused and we have created moments, right, around a news event like the royal wedding, or we just put the Friends reunion. We had an exclusive with the cast. We put that on the OTT, and I think we have done a good job of sort of igniting moments, and in those instances we will see great watch time and many multiples of what we would see on any of our other platforms. But I think that the challenge for us now is to kind of continue to create momentum, right? So going from moments to more momentum, where we are seeing much more continuous viewership across the across the linear wheel and across all the other the products that we put in. So I think it's definitely, I think you guys have done an incredible job of like really, I think the focus, right, on a very specific audience is amazing.
No, thank you. And look, it's funny, I'm the biggest fan of Meredith and People TV. Obviously, it's great to be on a panel with such like-minded individuals like you. And we've modeled ourselves and watched you guys grow over time, because there's been a handful of companies who've been in the fast space for as long as we have. And
Right.
really fast is the new cable killer. Like, this is the new generation of television that is just going to come pre-installed with your Samsung or Vizio or LG device. And it's undeniable that why would we, need a cable guy to come over and install a box other than for our ISP, our internet service provider, right? That's it. Once you have that in your home, you're pretty much done. Everything else is connected to the device. But I think, what's interesting is, talking about audience segments, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. It's different. Like, I think about, TV Plus, for instance, using Samsung as an example. I know People TV is on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
The audience for the lean back big screen television, your 60, 70-inch TV, is very different than their new mobile device, or mobile, application for TV Plus, which has an entirely different type of audience because of the folks who own that Android handset, right? And, we're starting now to really kind of even dive deeper into what that segmentation, kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, looks like. So even though we can't feed necessarily different audiences on those linear channels, it's more or less that where are we spending our marketing dollars, or where should we be focusing more of our attention to promote? On the big screen for Samsung or the small screen for Samsung? And for us, I'm sure you can kind of guess the answer. It's on the smaller screen because the vast majority of our users are millennial and Gen Z. So they're more likely to have that Android handset than they would that 60-inch, Samsung TV. And that's where they're watching, engaging, or, flipping to their big screen at home via, Apple TV or Roku or any other type of screen sharing device. But how is People TV like looking at that segmentation by device?
It's a very good question, and I will tell you, we have a wonderful and quite robust business intelligence team, right? As you can imagine, at a place like Meredith. And I think one of the challenges for them is, they build these wonderful dashboards and they build all this great data, these great analytics products for us. And, and they're working with APIs and they've got things plugged in, and then they figure out how all this great river of data then sort of surfaces and how we look at it. And I'll continue to talk about sort of the challenges, because I think that's what we're here to discuss. But the challenges of, you can, as you say, like, you deep dive into just the Samsung ecosystem. Well, yes, that's a significant part of ours, but then how do you then go, platform by platform, device by device, and really like thread out, like, what are, we're obviously trying to look at patterns, right? So if we're looking at Google Analytics for the web, or Facebook Analytics on our socials, we're looking for patterns, and we're looking for undulations. And I think one of the things that has, to be quite frank, has frustrated me about this whole OTT fast ecosystem is just that disaggregation of the analytics. And we have tried to get as many signals as we possibly can, but we still, I think, rely on the providers, obviously, but also we try to correlate that in some form or fashion to what we're seeing on the platforms where we have a lot more analytics, ultimately, like things like our .coms. So kind of putting those two things together and saying, like, okay, well, this piece of programming or this genre of programming, there is actual response, and we can see that on Samsung, whether it's on mobile or it's on the televisions, and then correlating that to what we're seeing on .com. And I think we're trying to figure out where those you know, where those wells are, but I'm really curious, you know, because you guys are, you know, so focused on the devices and such, like how you guys are working through it.
The same as you. You probably have more intelligence with Meredith, you know, the power of Meredith's data, you know, intelligence behind you, but it's difficult. Look, we were talking about this on our preparation call. There is no standardization on what data we receive from Apple, from Google, from Roku, from Samsung, from Zumo, from all of the partners. And I think, you know, there's going to be a tipping. My guess is that there will be a tipping point, and regulation will have to be established at some moment in time, hopefully sooner than later, because it takes almost, you know, for us, it's like a full-time data analyst / reporting person who is trying to translate that data into some normal sense of normalcy for us to be able, even just to report back to our licensors, right? Like the people that we license and split revenue from content that we distribute, let alone even just on our own kind of metric of, you know, revenue, our quarterly revenue. So it's fun. It's interesting. You know, I think this is an industry problem across the board. The People TV, REVRY, any other fast channel network that is a standalone service, not a VMVPD, right? Because they're the ones deciding what data they want to disseminate to you. You know, are these channel partners were having a really difficult time of making sense of what that data looks like and being able to analyze it. And I think, you know, for anyone who is a developer who, you know, can convince these majors to, you know, connect an API and give over some sort of element of data, you know, that's a huge business. That's a massive business. I would invest if I had extra capital.
Exactly. I've been telling, you know, 18-year-olds who I know who are really good at coding, like, hey, there's an opportunity here, like figure it out and either just hack it, you know, and create the product and disrupt it, or figure out how to build something. So let's move on to something kind of slightly more fun, slightly less frustrating topic, which is content. And you know, when I look at REVRY, you see you have such an interesting, such a broad variety of things. News, you have movies, you have, you know, docs, you have so much. I guess, how has that evolved over the last 5 years? And you know, where are the spaces that you still feel are pretty fertile ground for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you're correct. We have so much different types of content. We even dabbled in podcasting for a while. We still have some of those up, but those are from 3-4 years ago. We realized, you know, very quickly we were not the experts at podcasting, and it wasn't necessarily monetizable at the scale that we were looking for. And there are other, you know, distributors, great distributors out there who do this for a living or way better suited than we are. So we stopped doing it. You know, our focus is purely on video. And, you know, what we have noticed is the type of content that accelerates, you know, outside of variety shows and specials, like we just premiered in partnership with McDonald's, House of Pride, which was a 2-hour variety show with commercials, 90 minutes without, that had, you know, a drag queen, a drag king. We had 2 musical acts. We had a dance number and an entire musical number that was actually orchestrated and shot at a freestanding McDonald's set via like kind of a flash mob style moment. And brands are jumping in, you know, and especially I have to give hats off to McDonald's for jumping in such a big way and trusting REVRY to deliver the product that we did with House of Pride. So much so that they put us on a billboard in Times Square at 1538 Broadway.
Yeah, amazing.
Third largest billboard in Times Square, not just, you know, not just a billboard in Times Square, which for us was a very exciting moment to see your company and ourselves like up on that big screen. I was there just last weekend in the city just to see the billboard. But I think, you know, with content, look, like we see these patterns where there are certain types of segments within our own community and stories that are not just your coming out story, that our community is really attributing to, like really attaching themselves to. You know, we focus on the culture of queer because it doesn't matter your sexual orientation. It does not matter your gender identity. You know, even as an ally, someone who is straight, you can be part of the queer community. It opens us up and broadens, obviously, the opportunity to be unapologetically queer. And I think that has been one of the most exciting strong suits. And now, you know, I always say very much like Vice or, you know, Fuse TV, you're starting to see the voice of the network through the content that we're producing, you know, with these brands, and even just with original great filmmakers. And it involves music, it involves dance, it involves comedy, it involves docuseries. You know, I think our non-scripted division is way stronger than our scripted, but that is kind of the life cycle of any network, right? We'll eventually get to the part where scripted becomes even more and more popular as we kind of grow and evolve. But you know, it's interesting, like the content that we see that spikes, you know, Latin content, LGBTQ content in Spanish, LGBTQ content in Portuguese. We had LGBTQ content from India. This one show, quick side story here. I had the pleasure of being in Mumbai for Kashish, the LGBTQ film festival there in 2019. And there was this one title, The Other Love Story, about this like queer Hindi lesbian couple shot in Bangalore by this amazing British producer. And I was there, and all these queer female filmmakers kind of surrounded me after I was introduced at like the opening night reception. And one of the women's like, I want you to see the impact you've had as a platform on queer women here in India. And she pulls out her Tinder and shows me her phone. I'm like, why are you showing me your Tinder? And every image on that grid was an image from The Other Love Story, from our original, from that territory, because it's how they identify themselves as queer females, you know, because they don't want to be found out, or, you know, they don't have necessarily the same protections and laws that we have here in the United States. And that warmed my heart. That shows that what you're building and what you're doing is so much more important and much bigger than we ever anticipated it to be. It's the greatest reward as a CEO.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'll just say, I think REVRY has stood for so much more than your original mission, and I really admire what you guys have done in terms of, you know, of really speaking to the entire audience, right? Which is amazing. I see Steve, and I'll just say on our side, I think, you know, again, I talked about sort of the undulation of the progression in the last 5 years since, as we know, Damian, like this world has continued to change so rapidly. And I think one of the best things we've done is on the People TV side is just is to create content that is responsive to what we see the audience loving, right? So early on, there were more long form programs, and we were doing more around sort of interviews and news, and we felt that the audience was responding to that. And then we had a brief period where we were really focused on royals, reality, and those sort of tent poles. And now I think we've talked about this a little bit. The new approach is sort of leveraging the power of all of Meredith's brands, right? And all of our talent to create OTT first tent poles. For instance, we're going to launch something between people and parents, a collaboration where a franchise called The New Parenthood, which will have many different elements in it. And, you know, that will be rolling out in the fall. And then we'll also be launching a show with Aisha Curry, the chef, called One and Done. And, you know, she obviously has a magazine, Sweet July, with a quarterly magazine with Meredith. And she's, you know, fantastic. So, but if you think about the span of Meredith's brand, whether it's Food and Wine, Travel and Leisure, InStyle, Entertainment Weekly, you know, we think that the hypothesis here is that People TV can stand for much more than simply people, right? And we can continue to expand that. And that's really where we feel like the promise is from a content standpoint going forward.
Well, Will, we should do a co-pro between REVRY and People TV. I'll contact you after this.
100%. Yes,
we just cut a deal right here.
We just cut a deal.
Just cut a deal right on.
Right on Will on the spot, but I'm like, oh, that sounds great, and it sounds like we can definitely align, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Let me squeeze in one quick question about cadence. What have you guys learned about working in these channels, about scheduling, about cadence and frequency, about whether you should just go, is the temptation to just go linear?
Yeah,
I'll let you go first.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. You know, we have a wonderful play out partner, Frequency. They're the best in the market, along with Whirl. We do work with Whirl, and we love those guys as well. You know, scheduling for linear is another game and challenge. It's a whole other business that you have to evolve and learn. we're now getting into the point of day parting, just like broadcast TV was. You know, it's funny. It's like everything old becomes new and everything new becomes old. We're kind of, this is television again, just reinventing itself through different technologies and different consumer interfaces. But at the end of the day, like, prime time, still prime time for us. You know, we put our best content on between the hours of 5 and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's where we see a major audience. And now we're looking at certain days of the week. Sunday is always our night for specials. We have the biggest audience across the week on Sunday nights, right? It's so now there's these coveted moments, just like television was. Remember TGIF? I'm going to date myself right now. Trying to bring back that, even like on a queer perspective, you know, dinner and a movie. We just launched Queer Classics, and but I'm a cheerleader. The director's cut's running all this month with, you know, kind of interstitial content by A.B. Fairley, really talented comedian. But yeah, but I mean, that's, you know, it's another game. It's another big part of our business. And it's something that you can't just go from VOD to playlisting. It's VOD to programming for broadcast TV. And that's, you know, a whole new sector.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add, I think we have very much the same challenge and very much the same charge. But the thing I would say is that, you know, one thing that obviously was very disruptive for People TV was the lack of award shows and red carpet events, right? And that was something that we were very, that was a very big part of how we program around a specific red carpet or a specific moment, royal wedding, so forth, and being able to kind of shoulder that. But I think, you know, thankfully things are starting. We just had the first premiere in New York of In the Heights, and so I think those things will start to come back, and we're gonna continue to program around sort of big tentpole moments that we know that the People TV audience loves.
Will and Damian, I can't thank you enough. I threw a different kind of format at you and you ran with it, and I really appreciate it. This was great discussion. Thank you so much, guys.
Fun. Thank you, everybody. Happy Pride. Thank you, Julie,
Yeah.
and everyone here in